Hey, everybody. John Huber here, Maryland Education Network, brought to you by Maryland K-12. So, parents around this time of the year are starting to see these things coming home from students, and they see them every year. They're called student handbooks. And they bring them in. They say, yeah, some administrator came in today, talked to me about all the rules and stuff. I need you to sign this so I can take it back. That's if you have a responsible kid who came home and say that. A lot of them just would never, just wouldn't even mention it, wouldn't even think of it. Student handbooks are very, very important, and a lot of parents don't realize it. Those are the rules. Those are the rules, and you hear this all the time about, these kids they need to know the rules. And well, these are the rules. It talks about whether kids can, how kids, whether they can, or what would prompt a student to be suspended from school, what would prompt a kid to be expelled from school. It lists all the offenses, it lists the procedures and everything. And over the years, these handbooks have just gotten thicker and thicker and thicker. There was a period of time where it was essentially a pamphlet, a couple of rules, some consequences. Everybody signed it, and we moved on. It's not so anymore. They're quite comprehensive now, and I encourage all parents, you really, really need to read it, because when something goes wrong, whether your child is either the offender or the person against whom the offense has been committed, that's what guides it all. That's you need to know it. So there's a lot more language over the past couple of years has been added, and this language is all about therapeutic type or restorative type measures that administrators and or school officials in general are required to implement prior to using punitive measures such as expulsion, suspension, that sort of thing. And that's fine. I'm all for that. And there's also a few notes in there that says some things like that if it's an egregious offense, that the principal is not required to work in increments of severity. There's a level. You can't jump to expulsion for a kid's first offense. There's levels of things that you need to work up. But what they're saying is, in the event that it's egregious, that you don't need to do that. So that makes sense. There's really not a lot new in these handbooks this year. I've been looking at a few of them. But it's just more and more and more of things like restorative practices and lists of all these interventions. And what that does is it makes it more and more and more difficult for administrators to remove disruptive kids from school. It makes it more difficult because it gives parents and sometimes, superintendents designees, or the hearing officers as they're called now, it gives them ammunition to sit and look at administrators and say, well, look at all these lists of 15 things here that you have not done yet. For the kid who commits the one-time offense, it's relatively, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a lot more justifiable to remove a student under the handbook, okay? Now, our goal is not to remove students, of course, but when we have kids who are consistently disrupting the educational environment, yes, administrators want to remove them. And I've said this before, administrators want to remove them, principals want to remove them, area superintendents want to remove them, the superintendents want to remove them, the board of directors, they all want to remove them. And, of course, they don't want to kick them to the streets. Of course not. But they don't want them next to the kids who really want to learn, because it's really disruptive. So what happens is, but the problem is we're all under these very liberal Maryland laws that require all of these, counseling and not therapy, but, counseling, therapeutic approach in general, counseling, and school systems are stuck in the middle. So it's all outlined in these student handbooks. So if you want to know what's going on with student discipline, if you want to know, what, they're allowed to do and not allowed to do, look it up. Look it up. It's all there. I saw a thing from one of the counties that sent the thing out saying to the parents, just a reminder that students are, using cell phones for non-educational purposes, may result in disciplinary action. I highly doubt it, and that's the cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle. What do you want to say? the phones are everywhere, and it's a mess. It's very difficult for schools to manage, and they're trying, but I can't imagine. But technically, it's an offense. So then it's a difficult landscape for schools to manage. But anyway, my point here is that the student handbook is those are the rules. And if you're a parent, and you especially if you have a child who you think, oh my God, he's going to go in there and do, or she's going to go in there and do something stupid and going to get in trouble, you might want to read this ahead of time just to make sure that everybody's playing by the same rules, because that's why they're there. It talks about student searches. Can a administrator search a student? Absolutely. If they have reason to believe that there's something in there, and they changed the language on that one a little bit. They changed it to be more of like if the item or items that the principal believes, or the assistant principal or administrator believes that the students have is violates a law, then they can conduct it. I think it used to say something else. I could be wrong. But anyway, my point here is get to know the handbook. They're very important. And here's another thing. Schools fight this every year. You've got 1,000 kids in your building. Every one of them needs to have a signature for that handbook on file, okay, for that year. If they don't, and they do something wrong, that's where it ends. That is a lot of pressure on administrators, I can tell you that. To where, if a kid really does something stupid, a kid brings a weapon, a kid brings a gun, a knife or something, and then they get caught legally by the administrator, the SRO, whatever, and then it's like, okay, this kid did this and this. We're gonna recommend this kid be removed. We're gonna take him to the hearing officer. The first, I can tell you, the first place that administrator runs is to wherever they keep those collection of signatures, and they pray on their world that there's a signature from that student on that one. And when you see it, you go, oh, But let me tell you, there's been some times where kids have done some really, really dumb things, and some really horrible things, and the schools couldn't do anything because they didn't have that little piece of paper that says, yes, an administrator gave me the presentation of the handbook, and they gave me an opportunity to ask questions, and then I signed it, and then that was it, right? Not just some, teacher going over it in homeroom. No, it has to be an administrator. Anyway, so make sure that you're familiar with the handbook. You have any questions, call your school, call your administrator. They'd love to talk to you about it. I don't know if they'd love to talk to you about it, but they will. Anyway, that's it. Student handbooks, they're very, very important. And make sure you know all about yours. So thanks. Have a great day.